You're now listening to season 4 of Evolving Through Vulnerability. Welcome to my podcast where we discuss everything and how we evolve around relationships, parenting, and career. Stay tuned for this week's episode and welcome back. Oh my gosh, okay, you guys. So many big, great announcements here coming up. First off, my book is launching tomorrow, which I'm super excited about. So if you do not know, my book, A Letter to the Younger Me, which is a memoir, is launching tomorrow, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Amazon. It is for pre-sale, and then you'll be able to go ahead and go back on Amazon, hopefully in March, and be able to purchase a tangible copy. So tomorrow will just be for the pre-sale, but I would still really love your guys' support in the pre-sale tomorrow because, first of all, the book is only going to be $2.99. So if you have a Kindle or if you want a digital copy and you're not a person who really cares for, having a tangible copy of a book, tomorrow's pre-sale is just for you. I'm super excited. I can't wait to see how many people support. I can't wait to see how many people read the book. The book is just so monumentally important to me, and I'm just super excited about sharing my memoir with the world and with all of you. I feel like as I started the podcast and you guys got to see me evolve and see the podcast evolve and hear different types of conversations that we have. You guys, saw me when I'm happy, heard me when I'm crying. It's just, this book is just a next level of emotion and everything of how I feel, what I went through, why I am the way that I am, the things that I question, how I was parent, and just kind of where I am today. So I definitely want this episode to deep dive a little bit more into my book, what it is, what it means, and why it matters to me, and what are some key pivotal moments that I mentioned in my book that are super important that could possibly help you, because the whole point of the book was to write it so I could heal, but I felt like as I was writing the book and as I was writing the letters, I also, I was writing letters to you. I was saying, dear reader, and the letters that I wrote to you were all of the lessons and things of how I felt things should have been handled, and maybe hoping to give you a different perspective on how to look at things, how to handle things. So I'm super excited for you to be able to deep dive, read into it, and kind of see where the book takes you. I make it sure that my book is really interactive. So as you read a passage, there's time to reflect, there's space to write. You're able to print out the book and do it that way. But if not, definitely purchase a tangible copy. So that way you're able to go ahead and write in it and, reflect and see how and where the chapters take you and the lessons that you learned and if the lessons even mean anything to you. And I would love the feedback. Definitely take pictures with the book, email me about the book, comment about the book, and let me know, hey, Mariana, this book wasn't for me, or hey, I felt like you should have handled this chapter differently, or I really resonated with this chapter. Thank you so much. So let's go ahead and deep dive more into A Letter to the Younger Me. All right. And we are back. So, Mariana, who is she? I'm 24. I am Black and Mexican. I am a podcaster. I am an author. I'm an advocate, an activist, and I am a mother, and I'm so happy to be able to have this platform to be able to share my story in a memoir and really come to figure out what did I want to write about. So when finding a publisher and, getting a coach on how to write this book, how do I, articulate myself? What is the process? What is the step of becoming an author? I always told myself as one of my bucket list things is that I'm going to write a book. I have something to say. I need to share it with the world. I'm going to write a book. And how often do we come across people who has written a book? You know what I'm saying? So I'm super excited that I took a leap, took a risk to do this project. Everything that I do, I always try to take risk in life because I never know the outcome of how it's going to come. Example one, starting this podcast. I didn't think I was going to love podcasting as much as I love to listen to podcasts. And when I really started getting in the podcast community and the podcast world, I just realized how much I really, really loved it. And, the next thing with, my business, Secrets by Heaven, even though I consider it a failure, I still took a risk of figuring out what it is to really, own a cosmetic and fashion line. And, I know now what it takes. I know what I have to do. I have lessons that I have learned from failures that I did, places that I know that I could have worked harder and done better in. And now here we are with the book. And, I accomplished it just like I accomplished this podcast. I launched it just like I launched this podcast. And it's going to be so amazing and so exciting. And now I feel like I am one step closer into finding who Mariana is, what my purpose is, and how I can help others within my purpose. I love to talk to people. I love to have deep conversations. I love to connect with people on just so many different levels. And when, you find someone that you have different connections with, you're able to connect with people in a lot of different ways. I'm a visual person, so I love the fact of having this book, having something tangible where you guys just aren't hearing me audio wise, but you guys are able to see who I am and get introduced to who I am and what I can do for you guys and, help you guys not only just through the podcast, but in this book now, something tangible, something you can, like I said, go in and write in, and something that, you can highlight and, talk with me about. I would love to be able to start a book club with you guys, not only, just about my book, but just so many different books and genres and things. I'm such a bookworm now. I love books. I'm such a big writer now. I'm a big advocate on writing and journaling and everything around the space when it comes to mental health. I feel like that right there is such a big word and such a word that means so much on so many different levels. People tend to forget that a lot of these things that happen to us and a lot of these things that, we go through life and have why we have our perspectives and our mindsets all starts from trauma, all starts from a place of, when you are a child and you're witnessing things or seeing things or being taught or told things in your childhood, you are now molding that child or that person into their basics or their base of their perspectives and stuff like that, And when it comes to me now being a mother, I now have that power, that authority to be able to, kind of go in and say, okay, Nevaeh, this is what you are. This is what I want you to learn. This is what I want you to know. So really writing this book has really changed how the way I parent, how the way I co-parent with her dad, and how the way I've seen my parents co-parent with each other, or ways that I know of parents, by friends co-parenting or, parenting together with their child. So a lot of this is a way of me, trying to bring clarity into my own life about what it is that I struggled with. What is the trauma that I experienced when I was young for me to have the perspective that I have now and move the way that I move. It's really important to me to kind of figure that out. So starting with the introduction chapter, which you can check out on my website right now at www.author-marianagarola.com. It is absolutely free. I talk about, my best friend Morgan, and I talk about, our first night out together in Scottsdale, going to see one of our friends perform. I think it was for a Young Thug concert, and, the life of Scottsdale and how the way it felt. You always get that rush when you're young and, you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, or you're somewhere where there's a lot of adults and drinking and partying and drugs and stuff, and you're just in high school and you're like a little pupil, in this big, huge world of so many things where it's like, oh, that's a red flag, or, hey, I'm not supposed to be doing that, but that seems like fun. Let me go fuck up some shit. So just the whole atmosphere of Scottsdale and what it was just crazy. And then I go into talking about graduation and how the way, you go through a whole school year, if you're lucky, 4 years, with the same people, or, almost 7, 9, 8, 7, something like that years if you count middle school all the way to high school, and, with the same people. And granted, I was able to spend not only middle school with the same people, but typically actually the last 2 years of my high school with the same people that I have built relationships with, that I've gained to love, hate, talk shit about with, get in trouble with, do sports with, sit down and eat at lunch with. So I have gone through the whole roller coaster ride and, from middle school to high school, the transition of finding friends, losing friends, getting into situations, getting out of situations, that love, hate bond, the people that you ended up not liking and had drama with end up being like your best friend and, loving them and, wanting to be there for them and, seeing a different light of them. I kind of feel like I lived like a whole cliche in my high school career, actually, or life. So that itself was so much fun, and to be able to rewrite in the end and be able to, something I really wanted to captivate in this book was I really wanted you guys to hear my voice. I really wanted you guys to, as you're reading, now that you guys know what I sound like and how I react and how my pitch is and, the tone that I use for certain things, like I really wanted you guys to, as you're reading, hear me, hear my voice through this book and what I was going through and what I was trying to convey and really say, and also pinpoint out the emotion when I'm writing it and really understand and take the time to see, like, how do I feel? Does that bring back a memory for me? Can I resonate with this? How does this make me feel? And I feel like you get a lot of that in the introduction chapter. For it to be the technically first chapter that you read in my book, I feel like you get a lot of emotion all at once and a lot of tea and a lot of like, oh my gosh, this happened and then this happened. I really wanted to lay it out to you guys. And, as I told myself, it was like, if I was going to tell my story, I wanted it to be 100% real. I wanted it to be all out there. I just wanted it to be raw. And I just wanted you guys to understand me and who Mariana is. And some part of me doesn't care if you understand me, but another part of me says, like, you need to understand at least what I went through for me to learn that this is what it took for me to heal. And these are the lessons that I learned on the way. And I hope that in return, by me self-reflecting and doing all these things, it helps you, So that right there was all in a nutshell. So, going back to when I was talking about high school, I was really trying to make sure that I set the tone with trying to use senses and telling you and trying to like really lay out the picture and the atmosphere of what it really felt like for me on graduation day. I kind of almost get emotional just thinking about it because it was like 6-7 years ago now for me. And, because I graduated in 2016. And as I sit there and think about it, you go through high school and you have people that, like I said, you don't like or you love. You have teachers that you gain relationships with, and then you have teachers that you hate. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like in graduation, it was like one of those moments like, I don't care if I hated you last week. I don't care if, we went through some shit. Granted, some situations are not, you can't just sit there and be like, what, I don't care. But as you grow and as you go through situations, some things you just tend not to care about anymore. You just tend to not give a fuck about. And I had that moment in high school, those moments where I was like, I don't like this person. I don't care about them. But there was a lot of moments in graduation where I was like, I don't care. I made it here. This day is all about me. This day is my day of accomplishment. All of the staying up late, all of the community service I did, all of the sports I did, all of the everything, the being involved and, trying to, granted, if you weren't involved in school, that's absolutely fine. But like, I really over pushed myself. I was part of over 7 clubs. I did over, just not even thinking about middle school community service hours, but just high school alone, I did over 200 hours of community service. And then plus in middle school, I promise you in my entire life, I've probably done over 1,000 hours in community service. I can promise you that. And, but it's fine because it wasn't about, counting those hours to prove a point and get a cord. It was the part of, this is what I love doing, which I always continuously saying, I love to help people. I want to help people. I want to have those deep conversations and find different ways to be able to relate with other people. And granted, there are a lot of other people who, what I really liked about, being involved in all the different clubs that I was in was that the different people that were in the clubs all loved something different and all had different ideas and different things that they wanted the group and, the whole club to be a part of and stuff. So that was the fun part of that. And I just, graduating is such a great accomplishment. And if you weren't able to walk, I'm so sorry. If you weren't able to graduate, I'm very sorry, but it was a very exciting moment for me. And when I was writing it, because the pandemic had happened, and I was, when I was writing this book, I was thinking back on the pandemic. And the reason why I was thinking back on the pandemic was because there was a time where my friends graduated, from college, and a lot of them didn't get to walk. And, they all had drive by graduations and stuff like that. And that was probably a really sad moment for them because they were probably really expecting that same feeling that they got in graduation. It's a big accomplishment when people have balloons and people have all the different sound makers and people are cheering you on and screaming your name. And, regardless of if that's your kid or not, everyone's just cheering because everyone's happy about everyone's accomplishment as a whole, and, it was really a sad moment for me during the pandemic when I didn't get to graduate because I knew I should have been graduating. And all I kept thinking was everyone expected so much of me. Everyone wanted, so much of me as far as, my career, my life. And, oh, you're going to do big things and you're going to do this and you're going to do that. And so when it was around that time where everyone was graduating, I was like, fuck. Like, I remember getting really, really depressed because I was like, this person did something, I didn't do anything. The person in high school that no one thought would make it, or, you sit next to in class and you kind of have your life all figured out. You're like, I want to go to college and I want to do this. This is the college that I want to go to. This is the type of job that I want to have. This is the career. This is the family. This is how many kids I want to have. And you sit next to someone and they're like, I have no fucking clue what I want to do. I'm just here. I just woke up today. That was enough for me. I'm taking it day by day. You know what I'm saying? And so I was one of those people that knew everything. I had it all planned out since 6th grade. And something about life and shit happening and falling in love and being oblivious and really not believing in myself and getting myself into a situation had really stopped me from achieving my dreams. But I really had to think that, and I really had to think about, did I really want to be a teacher? I know I wanted to help people, but did I want to help kids? And, not only if I wanted to help kids, but I also had to think about other things that I wanted to do. I'm a type of person where I love having those deep conversations, and I loved criminology and crime shows and serial killers. So I was, at one point in my life, I wanted to be a behavioral analysis, and I wanted to, because I wanted to understand why and how people thought the way that they thought and do things the way that they do. And then I came to the point where I was like, you know what? I love to dress professional. I wanted to speak professional. I wanted to be that woman, that businesswoman. I wanted to hold my head high and have a suit on and a briefcase and have that title. So at some point, I also wanted to major in business. And with wanting to major in business, I was like, okay, well, what in business? Is it marketing? Is it sales? What in business would I be good at? And, I loved marketing. I love strategizing. I love everything that comes to branding. And that's why everything that I do, every project that I do, I try to treat it like a business, because once you spend money, you take things seriously. And it was really important to me to really figure out what it is that I wanted to be and what my purpose is. And at the end of the day, everything was around, let me help others become better, do better, understand more, having deep conversations, you know what I mean? And I feel like at some point, all those things tied to one another at some point for me. But when it came to realizing that during the pandemic that I wasn't graduating, I wasn't going to college, life was passing me by, I was supposed to have a degree, I was supposed to do something, and I was really depressed. It was really hard for me to come out of that, because then it was like, all I am was a stigma. I am a mother. Even though I wasn't a teen mom, I'm still a mom at a young age, an unsuccessful mother at that, because I didn't have a career. I didn't have a job, or I did have a job, I was a dialysis technician, and then at some point I was a redactor for Child Protective Services. And, I was doing all these different jobs and things or whatever to see which one paid the most money and which one I loved. Was it the medical field? Was it, helping, kids that are being abused and trying to help them that way? What was I trying to do? And trying to find my life's purpose. And, Nevaeh was so young when I was doing those things and trying to figure out what I wanted to do and how I'm trying to do them. And even still to this day, I'm still trying to figure out what it is that I want to do, but I'm one step closer. I have this podcast that is my outlet, that is mine, something that I have, something that I created. You know what I mean? I know what it is to go, to be successful in a business, and I know what it is to fail. And I know how to identify those things. And I know how to create websites. I know how to do marketing. I know how to do branding. I know how to do all these different things that a lot of people don't know how to do. And not only that, I also have this book now that is a big accomplishment because not a lot of people, one, have the balls to really know what to say. And three, not a lot of people are ready to tell their story. And I was at a point where I was ready to tell mine. So that was really exciting and really liberating for me all at once. So I think I found my path. I'm definitely one step closer. I'm not to the end, but the grass is definitely greener where I am. It took a while for it to become green and for me to water it, and I'm watering it constantly because every day is a challenge, every day is a journey into finding another way to become successful, to be comfortable, and to create a lifestyle that is great for me and my daughter, and setting myself up for also a successful relationship. Being a single mother, it was really hard because I was going through a lot of pain of my pregnancy and what I wanted, because no one gets pregnant, not expecting to be with that child's father. Some people do, but I definitely wasn't one of those people. And I had created this whole life, for myself prior to my pregnancy, and I was trying to settle for something that I would deserve more and better in. And I believed it, but I was like, I'm okay with settling it because I care and love this person. And that's the iffy thing is, when we love someone, we're willing to give up a lot of things and lose a lot of our morals and values and forget what compromising really is. And compromising is really a 50-50 two-side thing. And sometimes some people give 80 and 20, I was definitely giving 80 and the other person was giving 20%. So now that I know those things and how to identify it, I know what I want now in my relationship, and I'm super happy where I am in my relationship. I definitely mentioned Darian in my book. I definitely changed his name, but I do mention Darian in my book. I'm really happy with our relationship. I don't really go into detail about like our future life now because I feel like our chapter is still continuing. So I definitely want to write a book about how that is, and I cannot wait for that, that to start that book and, to give it to you guys because I came up with a great title and the concept for it is so amazing. So definitely stay tuned for that book. I'm not done writing yet. I'm not done telling stories. I'm not done telling my truth. Just yet, if you guys can, tell already. So in my introduction, we already covered how I talk about Scottsdale. I talk about my best friend. I talk about, school and how the way I felt and, how I didn't feel accomplished and how it was really a depressing time for me. But high school, reliving that moment was a big accomplishment for me. And that's how I felt in that moment, how I felt with accomplishing stuff and feeling like I knew my next step. That's how I feel with this book. I accomplished it. Now I know my next step is to continue to write, continue to produce audio content on this podcast, and to continue to give you guys tangible reads that you guys can reflect and take home and hopefully help you in some way or some form and build this community of normalizing, these topics, these conversations that I want to have, these deep conversations that, you might not be able to have with someone. And I just wanted to let you know that this is this is a free judgment zone. And I love having these conversations with you. And I love that you respect me having the different conversations and all the different topics and, and being vulnerable with you guys. That's what this podcast is all about, being vulnerable. And I'm so happy that I was able to rebrand and I came to a finalization of where I'm at in life. And I'm evolving. I'm evolving through vulnerability because vulnerability and embracing your emotions and who you are and the changes in your life, because we're constantly adapting and changing, is what's going to make us better people. It's what's going to make our situations and our time here on this earth, finding ourselves so much better. And it's going to make us be one step closer to finding happiness. So Going into chapter 1 of my book, which is the love chapter, I cover everything with my two loves, my two situations where I felt like were like a cliche love story. And I explain, and you kind of see how I was a hoe a little bit. And, no shame in me hoeing. And I didn't feel any type of way. I was living with someone and having sex with two people. Like, it happens. It is what it is. I was young. I was dumb. At some point in, the situation that I was in with my daughter's father, I was just like, fuck it. If you're going to do you, I'm going to do me. At this point, everyone does it. So I can't feel wrong about doing me and making me happy, sexually, mentally, emotionally. So fuck it. And then next thing you know, chapter 2 comes and Nevaeh is here. And, being a parent changes you so much. I'm so happy to be a parent. I know I wanted to be a parent at a young age because, one, I was really sad and depressed, after graduating high school and being in the situations that I was in. It was really hard for me because I felt like, okay, where am I at? Where does this life take me? This just can't be it for me. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not in college anymore. I'm trying to find a job. At the time I was working at Lifetime, and I was trying to, okay, what department can I really shine in? What can I do to really move myself up here so I can be successful, so I can make something and, have my own place. And, at the time I had my own car, which was really nice and stuff. And it was a bucket Camry. It was like a 2006 or 2007 or something. It was a bucket, but it was my bucket. I got the car on my own. You know what I mean? I wasn't no longer driving the Jaguar. I wasn't driving the Suburban. I wasn't driving the Slingshot. Like, I had something of my own, you know what I mean? And though it was crappy, it was my own, and I got it for myself. And that right there spoke more to my independence than, really relying or needing someone. So that was really good. So getting into, parenting, I was really sad too, because I went through the whole, chain of, trying to conceive. And, you're always told in high school, if you have sex like one time, you know what I mean, without protection, you'll get pregnant. And I was one of those people in high school where I was on the IUD. So I had my IUD in for like, I think 7 years. No, it was like more like 3 to 5. I had my IUD for like 3 to 5 years in. And though I wasn't having sex the whole entire time, I had my IUD, and, I did have sex unprotected a couple of times, and I didn't get pregnant. And so I was like, okay, this is cool. But I started having a lot of like complications and stuff like that. So, I had to get it taken out. But when I got it taken out, I was at the point where I was like, you know what? I'm ready to settle down. At this point, if it happens, it happens. I'm okay. And I went through the whole years, like 2 years between 2016 and 2017, or half of 2017 or whatever. But really all of 2016, where it was really, really hard for me to conceive. It was going through, conception strips, like ovulation strips, and wasting money on like so many amount of pregnancy tests that was unnecessary. And, so that was just like a whole ordeal itself, and just going through the emotional roller coaster of, I want this baby, but then, he doesn't love me. But then if we have a baby together, maybe he will like me. And then he'll tell me he likes me. And then, I'll want the baby, and then it doesn't happen. And then we go through, a couple of weeks or a month where it's like terrible. And then everything is up and up again. And, and then all the outside drama. So, and then, going through all those situations where I'm coming home from work to the place where I live, and, there's other females there, or he's going out of town with another female, or he's going to the club, or he's leaving again. And a lot of you are probably like, fuck, Mariana, like, why are you still there? Like, what the fuck are you doing? And I'm like, you have no clue. Like, I asked myself that so many questions. I remember sending Morgan text messages like, girl, I can't go. I can't leave. Like, he paid for school, and, he does this, and he takes care of me. Like, I'm going to be homeless. Like, I don't know where to go. And some of you are like, why don't you just go live with your mom? Well, my mom had kicked me out at the time, and she kicked me out because I felt like I was trying to protect my brother, and she was doing her own healing with her relationship ending with my father and stuff. And so we kind of like went to bat, battled each other out and stuff. And, I couldn't deal with it anymore, all the trauma and the getting cussed out, and, just the arguments and stuff like that, and being in between, her and my dad at the time and stuff like that. But then growing up with always being put in the middle of their drama and their arguments and stuff. So that's why I had moved in with Nevaeh's father and stuff. So everything kind of happened for a reason and stuff, and so I got to the point where I didn't feel love from my mom. I didn't feel love for my dad. I didn't feel love from the person I was trying to build a life with, and I was literally doing everything. My nana always told me, to marry someone older, be with someone older because they know what they want, they have money, they settle down. Times have changed, girl. Not every older man has money. Not every older man wants to settle down. A lot of them still want to be that young self being a whore. You know what I'm saying? So, I had to go through a lot of different trials and tribulations almost and stuff. So, I just wanted a point where I just wanted to be loved. I just wanted someone to love me unconditionally the way that I give love. It's really hard for me to give conditional love to people. It really, really is. And if I give you conditional love, meaning I can only love you if this and this and this, then you have probably done something to me really traumatizing to where I can only give you conditional love. I'm a really, really unconditional loving person. I love to give people different amounts of love unconditionally, love you no matter how dirty you do to me. Love me, love you no matter how you make me feel, how I wake up feeling about you. I just love you no matter what. And I feel like that's a good thing to also think about and ask yourself, how do you love people? Do you love people conditionally or unconditionally? And that's something in my relationship, me and Darian have also figured out is how do we choose to love people in our life and how do we love each other? Is it conditionally or is it unconditionally? And so that was another reason why I wanted to keep Nevaeh when I was pregnant with her, because as you know, like I said at the time, I was being a little hoe or whore, whatever you want to call it. And I was dipping and dabbling with two people. So, but I knew who the father was, at the end of the day, I knew who the dad was, but it was just a simple point of, okay, I remember Darian asking, he was, this is when I told him we were pregnant, that I was pregnant, that I was pregnant. And, cause we had met up and he was like, okay. And I think he really liked me at the time because I was just remember we were just friends with benefits, but it was going so well. It just felt so natural to be together and with each other, doing things together that I just felt like it was almost oh my gosh, this is so good. He calls it the cusp. And I was just man, this almost can be a real relationship. This is what it's like to date someone my age and, to be connected with someone and for it to be going really good. And, it was that whole cupcake phase. So I remember he had asked, he was like, so how do you feel about an abortion? Or what are you going to do? And, at the time I was stuck in so much hurt and pain and I wanted to get back. And I feel like the only way to get back at Nevaeh's dad was to sit there and be like, nope, you're going to have to deal with me. You're going to deal with this situation. We're going to do it together. This is what it's going to be. And little did I fucking know that he was still going to be stubborn. But looking back, I still wouldn't have gotten an abortion because I was already so mentally unstable with my emotions, with being depressed, that I didn't. And I knew I couldn't get an abortion because if I got an abortion, God freaking knows where I would be now this day. I would probably be at the end of a damn bottle or in a rehab center or somewhere, or I don't know, because I was really emotionally unstable, guys. I really was. I was really depressed. And looking back on it now, I can really admit that to myself. Then I was just I'm going with the flow. I'm fine. I knew I was unhappy, but I was fuck it. I chose to be here. But now I was really, really depressed. I was really going through some things emotionally and not having anyone to talk to about it and not going to a counselor or not doing anything. I remember I would text my mom being hey, does our insurance cover counseling? I definitely would love to go, but never really pursuing anything, with that. So I definitely wanted an outlet or somewhere that I could, do that with. And so moving forward, having Nevaeh has been the greatest thing in my life, close and next to an accomplishment. I can't say it's an accomplishment just yet because, she's still stubborn and has an attitude, and, parenthood is hard, and she's not 18 and fully grown. So I think I'm doing a pretty good job. I've been told I'm a great mom. I feel like a great mom. I feel like I give her the unconditional love. I feel like I give her the time, the attention. I feel like I'm doing things right. I feel like I'm giving her things that it was hard for me to say that I'm giving her things that I never had, besides like emotional love and connection and reassurance. Those are things that I feel like I didn't get in my childhood that I feel like I'm giving her and I need to give her. But as far as physical things, I was pretty spoiled. I was very well taken care of. She is 10 times that. So, I think I'm doing a really good job at being a mom. And no matter how many Google searches you do, no matter how many books you read, let me just tell you, there's no fucking real blueprint to parenting. You have to wake up every fucking day and learn something new and take that shit. Like, that's just what it is when it comes to parenting. You just literally got to take that shit and adapt and move as you go. That's why on every job that I've ever been on, and they ask you, well, how do you adapt to new situations? Are you able to move fast and quick on your feet? Yes. Do I need to put on my fucking resume that I'm a mom, by the way? Like, yes, I move quite fast. I adapt. Absolutely. I get bossed around by my 3-year-old. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you bossing me around isn't gonna, make me feel some type of way. So that right there was just like, just a little bit of what parenthood is like, but I love every single moment of it. My pregnancy was really hard. It was really emotional, not just because of the hormones, but because like I was going through the whole stages of rumors, that my daughter wasn't my daughter's father, and, the whole situation of how the way he felt towards me emotionally. And I felt that, and, what he was saying to me, and, me trying to build a relationship with his mom. But, all of those things was just really, really hard. It was really hard for me. And it was a lot going through it, and, always looking back and thinking about it. And that now in my chapter of in life where me and Darian, want to have a kid together, and, it could potentially happen at any time, it's one of those things where it's like, it's almost traumatizing and almost gives me, PTSD, because it's like, I know they're not the same person. I know that I won't go through the same thing, but it's still triggering because it brings up old memories and it brings up old emotions. And then it goes through the whole thing where I was trying to conceive and it was really hard for me then, and it's been really hard for me now. And it's just, just all those things, that you don't really think about until you stop and actually really think about them. It's really hard and it's a lot. And, so then it goes into the whole fact of me being scared of, am I going to be a good mom? How do I do this? Am I getting, myself into something that I don't, how to control? And it was really scary because when you're pregnant, it's like, well, fuck, like, you can either have an abortion, you can give your baby up for adoption, or you can have your baby and possibly struggle and figure things out. And, there's a lot of decisions to be had and to make when you're pregnant and you're going through your pregnancy and you're feeling everything and stuff. It's quite overwhelming. And quite frankly, and I feel like there's a thing called prepartum depression, because it was really hard, and I was really depressed in my pregnancy, and I really didn't get to enjoy my pregnancy. I was kind of rushing it because it was the whole thing of, DNA test and everything. So it's like, I just want to prove to you that I'm right. I shouldn't have to prove myself, and I had to prove myself, and I just wanted her out, and I didn't get the time to really sit and enjoy the pregnancy and be a part of the pregnancy and be one with my pregnancy the way that I want it to be. So when I fast forward my pregnancy and by the time she was here, it was like, oh, all this stuff I said before didn't matter. And it was like swept under the rug, even though he apologized. It wasn't like, I'm really sorry. Like, I understand, I believe. Hey, I just wanted to take a quick episode break from where we are in the podcast episode. Thank you so much for tuning in. But I definitely wanted to let you know that I am launching a podcast course where I teach you as a business owner, as a entrepreneur, as someone who has a story and has a voice, and you want to have a podcast of your own. I wanted to let you know that I am launching a course to teach you just how to do that. So if you want to learn more, make sure to go to my website and subscribe to my email list or DM me podcast on Instagram. Now let's go ahead and get back to the show. And I'm sorry that I put you through that. It wasn't what I expected. And then also being told that, well, I'll do better next time for the next person. It's like, well, fuck, like, why do I have to be trial and error, and just even after that, having postpartum depression was really hard because, I was really doing it on my own. And it was hard because even though he was financially there, just like how Ecuador. And in Ecuador, it was such an amazing experience. I'm not a big person on drugs or especially, drugs that help you hallucinate. But I went to Ecuador on an opportunity to do some spiritual healing and self-searching for love and, self-love type stuff. And when I went with my godmother, it was absolutely such an amazing experience. I just loved it so much. I'm so appreciative of the opportunity because how often does someone go to another country and especially, Cuenca, Ecuador, and it was amazing. And I had to be on such a strict diet too. And I just never thought that the week that I was there that I was going to be able to do a gluten and vegan free diet. And I had no choice and I did. And girl, I wish I lost more weight than I did, but I looked a little different, but it was, I bet you if I stayed out there for a month, like I definitely would have got my Halle Berry look that I wanted, or my Beyonce look, but hey, listen, maybe next time. So at least I know what to do now. So yeah, I went to Ecuador and I did ayahuasca. If you don't know what ayahuasca is, I definitely suggest you search it, YouTube it, do what y'all do on the internet and, read up on it and stuff. Ayahuasca, Mother Aya did such amazing things for me. She, spoke to me, made my body feel different. She, it was such a mothering, enlightening, loving experience. I also did San Pedro. That's more of a masculine energy. Grandfather Pedro, he don't like me. Me and him don't get along. I did not like that one because it was really teaching me how to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. And that's definitely something I challenged myself with being comfortable with the fact of being uncomfortable, regardless if it's with losing, regardless if it's not with support, regardless if it's not with, having things my way, which I'm used to being in control. We're all used to being in control and having things done when we choose to, because we choose to control what happens and what our outcomes are. Being comfortable with not always having to say of how things turn out and being able to have faith in letting things happen and be the way that they need to be and flow that the way they need to flow in the universe. I typically don't talk about religion on my podcast. Like I said, I'm Christian. I'm a spiritual believer. I believe in a higher being. I do have a Bible. I don't go to church all the time, just because I feel like I don't need to necessarily go to church to have that connection. But I do know that when I do go to church, that time that I do go to a Sunday service, there's always a message for me. There's always something very enlightening and filling within my heart and my body when I do step into a service on a Sunday. And I always get something so powerful that I just felt like when I do those random appearances in church, it's meant for me that Sunday. You know what I mean? Like it really speaks to what I'm going through. And I don't know what it is when I do go, but like something just pushes me to go. And so I take those matters into like spiritual awakening moments and God trying to connect and talk to me in my own way. So that's just how I usually take it. But, if you're not a religious person, that's absolutely fine. Be spiritually connected with something, a rock, the sun, the earth, the moon, your socks, your bed, whatever. Figure out something you connected with and really just try to allow that to give life through your body and to help also pursue faith and what your next step is and what you're trying to do. a lot of people can't put faith in family or friends or other people. So, and it's hard for people to put faith in themselves. So that's why it's really important. And that's why I'm promoting to put faith in something. Find out what it is that will always be there for you no matter what. Find something that always helps you no matter what, make it through, and allow that to be your energy source, your power source of what helps you move on to the next step, the next thing, the next chapter, open the new door for you, whatever metaphor you want to use. Allow that to happen, embrace that's something really, really good. And then my last chapter, I talk about entrepreneurship. And I remember, I think 2 or 3 podcast episodes ago, where I talk about how I failed at my business, Secrets by Heaven. I got everything right. I was doing everything. And then at some point, I just felt like the ambassadors that I got, only one ambassador came through. And, I was giving away free product and I was trying to promote, and it was just a lot. And, a lot of people were viewing my site and stuff, and it was really there, but it was like, I don't know if the products weren't right. I don't know if my audience or my demographic wasn't right. And so I was doing a lot of research, but I feel like I just needed to do more. There was just more for me to do. And I didn't have a team. It was just me. So I was trying to do that. Then I was trying to podcast, and then I was trying to, mentally, be okay and go through life as it comes and as it changes and stuff. And, try to also be successful in work, because I do have a 9-to-5 job, and, try to be a good person in that job. So that way I can step up the ladder, make more money, try to get a house, try to be successful, try to be really independent. You know what I mean? And really show myself and prove to myself and, other people that, hey, I can do this. I can stand on my own. I can be this single mother. I can have a successful relationship. I can have the life that I want and be able to do what I want to do and be comfortable where I am financially. I was trying to do so much, and I was really, really hoping that that business can really do it and turn it around. But at the end of the day, I was just selling stuff to people. I really didn't have a purpose. The purpose that I felt like it was, okay, this is for me to give something to Nevaeh. But it was just, if it was successful, cool. I was able to give her some money and, pass down some knowledge of what I learned about the business. But really, what was it that I could really teach her? Just besides basic stuff that she can learn on school, on Google, on YouTube. So that's what got me into then the book. And the book itself, like I said, I dedicated it to my daughter. I dedicated all the lessons that I've learned in life that I felt like weren't taught. You just kind of have to go through. I wanted to write not only the healing process for the childhood trauma and the things that I've experienced in life that helped shape me to the way that I am, but also give Nevaeh that story. Give Nevaeh those letters. Give her all the lessons that I've learned and give it to her in a book to where she can keep, annotate, burn, write in, read, not read, but just know that I accomplished that. I was able to do it. I was able to dedicate something to her. I was able to give it to her. I was able to tell my truth, tell my story. I was able to essentially give her life lessons. Yes, she's going to have her own life. Yes, she's going to have to go through her own stuff. But as she goes through it, if it's something similar to whatever I go through, which I feel like everyone goes through love. Everyone at some point will become a parent. And if you're not a parent, you went through your childhood and saw how the way you were raised and and I'm pretty sure at some point in your life, you told yourself how you would do things different if you had kids, or that wouldn't be me, or that's not my situation. Or perhaps you have a friend that has a kid and you see how the way they raised them, or what their struggle is, or what maybe something that they're going through, love, or in a relationship, or in a parenthood situation. And you can give them this book to help them. The book is just like almost a blueprint to helping you feel and know that you're not alone in whatever chapter you are in, essentially in my book and in life. If you're in love, if you're in a parenthood chapter, if you're in the chapter of trying to find yourself spiritually, or try to have a little bit more faith, not only in yourself, but maybe into something. And in the career chapter, I just basically talk about how that, to me, School is rubbish. College to me is rubbish. At this point, this is how I feel about it. If Nevaeh wants to go to college, I will be more than happy to support my daughter in anything that she wants to do. But at this point where I am in life, and as I see, the world progress into what it is, you can't learn things from people who are only teaching things out of a book. Everything that we are taught in this life is coming out of a lesson in life. You have to physically go through something emotionally, non-emotionally, physically, traumatically, whatever word you want to put there. You have to go through it in order to make it a lesson you learned in life, to make it something that you can teach others. You cannot teach something out of a book that happened a long time ago. When things have changed, life is happening, the world is adapting. Something my grandfather always told me is, you need to improvise, you need to adapt, and you need to overcome. You do. And that right there is just so strong and so powerful to me. So that's why I always take life as I always adapt, improvise, adapt, and I always overcome. And so I just hope that if you gift this book to someone, I hope if you read this book for yourself, that this book gives that. It gives healing, it gives lessons, it gives everything that you want it to give. And if not, then you just get some additional extra information about my life that you can judge me on, that you cannot judge me on, that you can make up and add a twist to the story, that you can talk about, that it's, whatever. Absolutely whatever that you want. The point is that there are people who need this book and who need this truth, and I'm here to give it. And I'm so happy that I was able to have the opportunity, to have the faith in myself, to be able to push myself and challenge myself to give just that, all of that. So I'm super excited. So another thing is, what do I want my readers to gain from my book? So like I said before, I want you guys to be able to take this book, read it chapter to chapter, or read it from cover to cover, or just pick a chapter that you think will resonate with you or resonate with someone that you know, and read it. And then also, like I said, it's interactive. So answer the question that I asked at the end of the chapter or before the chapter, or just read the letters that I write to you as a reader. Just read those and see maybe if those are something that you can resonate with. That's the great thing about my book. There's just so many different things in here that you really you don't have to read the book cover to cover if you don't want to. Open the book up, whatever first page you land on, read it. I challenge you to open up the book to a random page and read it. Just read it and see how the way it makes you feel. See how the way that I write, if it resonates with you in any type of way. So that's what I challenge you as a reader to kind of do, to kind of convey. And when it comes to, shit happens, life happens, but we make shit happen at the end of the day, no matter what. So remember, you guys, that if you guys want to check out that introduction chapter to my book, make sure you guys go ahead and go over to my website, www.author-marianagarola.com, to read the introduction chapter. Leave me a comment. Let me know. Email me what you guys think. Go on my Instagram. My Instagram is @author-marianagarola. Let me know what you guys think about my book. Take a picture of yourself reading the introduction chapter. Let me know how the way you guys feel about it. Did I waste my time? I don't feel like I wasted my time, but did I waste your time is what I really want to know at the end of the day. And remember, my book also is on pre-sale tomorrow, February 4th, 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I cannot wait to see where this book takes me. Thank you so much for being a listener. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. Welcome to Evolving Through Vulnerability with Mariana, where we discuss everything around parenthood, the relationships that we have, and how we evolve in our career. We evolve through everything in life, and I just wanted to leave you with one last message of I appreciate you. You're an amazing person. Have an amazing day, and I hope to hear from you guys soon.